All right, and thank you very much for keeping it Smart 24 TV. My name is Jerome Paul Sonko, and welcome to the Prime Edition. We're coming to you live from Plot 42 Nile Avenue, here to drive your business. Now, today we take a look at what is making headlines from the world of business, and in our bulletin, of course, for all of you that are catching up from wherever you are, thank you very much for making sure that you keep up to speed with business information. Well, now let's have a look at that particular one, as we do start up with a very fast story, as the Deputy Speaker of Parliament has directed the Ministry of Finance in charge of the program of the Parish Development Model to present the policies and guidelines of this program. This followed concerns from members of Parliament over the management of this project that was launched by the President of Uganda in Chibuku District in February. A look at the details.
Members of Parliament have raised concerns how the government is running the program of the Parish Development Model, asking how beneficiaries will gain from this program, yet the people that are helping them are paid 3 million are not coming from these parishes.
They have already put up people who are going to work in these parishes, who are not coming from our places. 5 of them. And each of them is going to be earning 3 million per month. Now, you multiply 3 million per month by one person, that's 36 million per year, times 5 people, then 5 years. That will compute almost 800 million. And you stated clearly that you are going to give 100 million, but now you are starting with 17 million. Honourable Speaker, these members of Parliament you are seeing here can give 17 million at once in a constituency because of the pressure they have on their voters. Now, if you promised 100 million, and now you are saying you are going to give 17 million, I'm going to take your information, Honourable Minister, because I'm trying to save you, by the way. So, the procedure matter I'm raising, Honourable Speaker, with this good parish model, with all the experience you have had in Emyoga, you sent us for investigation, Bondaba Gagawale, Ntandikwa, the issues end up becoming political.
They further raised issues of getting to Parliament when such projects fail, citing Emyoga where members of Parliament were not included, yet it's their oversight role.
But history has shown, especially when you sent us to go and monitor Emyoga, we were nothing but pathologists who come to give post-mortem reports. Right, Honourable Speaker, we all want our people to benefit from the parish model. And that's why we are insisting that as members of Parliament, our oversight role should not be to bring post-mortem reports. Right, Honourable Speaker, we have heard that 17 million has already gone to some parishes. If you ask members of Parliament here who know that their districts have received those monies, I can assure you there might be none.
Jim Muhwezi, the Minister of Security who represented the Chief Whip, said the government is preparing a report showing how members of Parliament will be involved in the parish development model.
Local government prepare a statement to members of Parliament, and including the role the members of Parliament will play in oversight role, in monitoring and supervision.
Deputy Speaker of Parliament Annie Amongi tasked the General Muhwezi to report back on Thursday with policies and guidelines.
Let's not do the post-mortem activity as members of Parliament. Let's make sure that we define how the money is going, how it is being utilized, who is the beneficiary. From the word go, I want us to have a whole day of discussion for parish model. On Thursday, the ministers responsible should come and give us the policies, the guidelines, the criteria, everything in terms of parish model. We will give the whole Thursday to parish model.
Well, with that, when you look at the parish development model, a number of things still have ongoing, but we shall definitely be keeping up to speed with what is happening across there. Well, now on to the other story. It takes us to women in self-employment, as the Women in Self-Employment Organization have embarked on grassroots advocacy campaigns for legal and policy reforms that are responsive to emerging issues affecting the success of the economic activities of self-employed women in the informal sector. Jemima Kasimbazi, the Executive Director of Women in Self-Employment Organization, that is WISE, notes that they will begin with women groups from Makerere Kavulu in Kampala Central Division. She says that they are particularly looking forward to empowering women and girls in Uganda to attain economic financial independence. Pedison Mumbere reports.
The government of Uganda imposed a lockdown in mid-March 2020 in response to the public health threat of the COVID-19 pandemic. The state of the economic paralysis has had severe negative impacts on the businesses and in the general operations in the informal sector, particularly for women and girls, leaving them feeding from hand to mouth.
Abachala boka abali mu t-shirt no chairman. I'll need you here.
The Women in Self-Employment Organization has therefore embarked on grassroots advocacy campaign for legal and policy reforms that are responsive to the emerging issues affecting success of the economic activities of self-employed women in the informal sector in Uganda, beginning with women groups from Makerere Kavule in Kampala Central Division. Jemima Kasimbazi, the Executive Director, Women in Self-Employment Organization, WISE, notes that they are looking forward to empowering women and girls in Uganda to attain economic financial independence.
The specific objectives of our project today is to ensure that the laws and policies regulating the business and labor landscape in Makerere Kavule in Kampala recognize and protect self-employed women in informal sector and provides them with equitable opportunities to contribute and benefit from the local economy. The objective is to ensure that self-employed women in the informal sector in Makerere Kavule are accorded equitable participation in economic activities and improved access to business development information and services, as well as government economic recovery incentives. 3.
Kubanga mumanye ebyabakyala abaami batulekerera nnyo omusente bwe tubukola ate n'akulowoleza nti gwogenda okugula kano gwogenda okugula kali abaana ne batuuka okuddayo ku ssomero nga batunuulidde ggwe omwami bw'alaba ng'okeera okugenda okukola ate nga tusaana okuyambibwako naye basuuliddeyo gwa naggamba kwegamba obuvunaanyizibwa ne butuyitirirako kati tuyina buyambi bumala naye singa tuba tufunye omukisa nga guno tusobola okukola kyonna ekisoboka naffe ne tulabika nga tusituka nga bwe mutwagaliza ebizibu bye tufeesinga emisolo giba mingi giri waggulu nnyo omukyala agenda n'alaba nga emisolo ku kintu kyakola giyitiridde kati tugeze olabe nga sabbuuni kati ali ku siringi 7 omukyala owa wansi ku nfuna yaffe oba tosobola ate ng'olina abaana omuti osobola okugukozesa wiiki emu nga guweddewo naye ate okusinziira ku nfunayo n'ebizibu by'olina ng'olaba tekimala.
Reports indicate that women in informal trade have limited access to protection from the law in situations where their rights are infringed upon. They also do not have requisite corporate structure to qualify for private sector funding, no government bailouts.
Tuwandisa kati obutabo obugonza amateeka kubanga amateeka gawandiikibwa mu lulimi olusooka luzungu ate ekirala luli ligo luzibu kulw'omuntu olwabulijjo so twagala kati tugende tuvunika amateeka gonna tugenda twagala okugezaako gagonjola biri muntu abeere ng'asobola okugakola.
Women in self-employment was as well challenged to have respect for their jobs and maintain high-level personal hygiene if they are to attract more customers.
For instance, omukyala atunda emmere waliwo gwe mbadde njogera naye enva zikuyikira toyina apron eno weesa omwana eminyira gikulukuta really ba customers tebajja kujja. So let us to respecting omulimu gwaffe tubeere trained into that. Obadde osiika ejjiruli ng'olisiikira ku sefuliya kati katufule frying pan. Obadde okola chapati ng'ozikolera ku kimeeza oba ogenda waka okivuunika embwa ne zanyirako ekiro gwe n'okivunula emisana n'okolera ko chapati abantu ze bakola ki ze balya. So we need to keep you with the right training, the right mindset. Ewaffe mu family nedda byagaana nze ndimu nze nsobola okufuna emitwalo 10 tebigaananga maama era tebisobola gaana eyo ndowooza yonga ki ng'omuntu, but when you work hard and follow the right procedures you'll get there.
Respect is a key requirement for a healthy work environment. It promotes productivity and efficiency in the workplace. It is evident that women and girls are ignorant about their human, social and legal rights and lack of resource to support their well-being. This situation, therefore, presents an opportunity to arrange for sensitization, training and skilling of women and girls to create awareness. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV.
Oh, thank you very much, Pedson Mumbere. Now, the members of Parliament on the Committee of Defence and Infrastructure have raised concerns about the security trackers project that the government is pushing for. The government signed contracts with a Russian company, which was ordered by the president, but the members of Parliament are not convinced, saying that there is something to sort before this proceeds. A look at the details.
After the bomb blasts last year in Kampala and the attempted murder of General Katumba Wamala, the president ordered the State Minister of Defence, General David Muhoozi, to take on this project of installing all cars in the country with track systems in a bid to curb criminals. But members that sit on the Committee on Defence and Infrastructures still have more they want to know about this program before it is implemented.
We need to know what is contained therein.
Yes.
Because this is my car, my property, my asset, not government money. And therefore, if government wants to put a gadget in my vehicle, which I already registered with the same government, then I must know what you have signed with that company on my behalf.
But on the other hand, some members still wonder why this project was rushed before addressing the Parliament.
Then on June 24th, just 3 days after being sworn in, Jim was right to Yunus Kakande, asking him to expedite the process. On 25th June, you can see the speed. It is supersonic. PM Robin and Abanja writes to General Jim demanding an update on the project. On June 28th, 2021, another letter comes from Patrick Okairap on behalf of the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury about the same project. On July 1st, 2021, General Jim and the Interministerial Committee met the Russians to agree on the terms. On July 23rd, government of Uganda and the Russians signed the agreement. 4 days after the agreement was signed, that is 27th, General Jim was in Parliament now to answer.
Several times, cases have come up with the government losing money to companies that are given tenders and yet they are fake and do not exist.
He gets into commitment with some people who are not established anywhere. You have heard of those things earlier before in former parliaments. So we can find out from them, home, in their home country, whether they actually do these things. I don't want to re-echo this Rubawa thing where somebody says, has experience in doing what he cannot do after all this money and time has been given to them. My concern is to do with where it is security, but there is economics in this. We don't have to lose money to people duping the president every other time.
Therefore, it was decided by the committee to summon all stakeholders in the security so that they explain the project.
The Minister for Works also to come. We have other implementing agencies. We have police at the center. I don't know whether the Minister of Internal Affairs is also part of this, since we are discussing issues dealing with security. Yes. And the police is going to be implementing. So I think let's have a date, which is soon. We thought we would meet them this week, but the Minister of Security said he's gone with the Vice President to Eastern Uganda to meet the leaders from Karamoja and Teso over those issues. So for me and we are sector committees, we usually meet Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I suggest we meet next week like Tuesday.
Well, And with that, it takes us to our other story, and this particular one regards the matters to do with Uganda Investment Authority. The Uganda Investment Authority has embarked on building the capacity of domestic investors to ensure they benefit from the oil and gas sector. Uganda stands to benefit from contracts estimated to be worth $4.2 billion, in line with the government's content aspirations.
The authority's Director General, Robert Mokiza, says that through their domestic investment division, they are already working on building the capacity of the local firms to tap into the opportunities in the sector. Mukiza revealed that the government awarded the joint venture partners for their contribution towards the signing of the final investment decision at the beginning of February 2022. Mukiza said that the final investment decision is a historical milestone that will see the country attract the single largest investment of approximately 10 to 15 billion US dollars into the country. The award was aimed at recognizing some of the key players in the sector's journey in line with the mandate of promoting, attracting, advocating, facilitating, registering, monitoring, and evaluating all forms of investment in Uganda. Uganda stands to benefit from contracts estimated to be worth $4.2 billion US dollars, in line with the government's content aspirations. The Uganda Investment Authority is keen, through its domestic investment division, to facilitate backward and forward linkages among local and international firms, but this can only happen with sufficient capacity building, in addition to building capacity of local firms to leverage the opportunities in the sector. He stressed that the entity dedicated the year 2022 to domestic investment. The State Minister for Investment and Privatization, Evelyn Anite, said to ensure that Ugandan entities also benefit from direct and indirect opportunities, the government has ring-fenced over 16 fields for local domestic investors. She adds that as the government of Uganda, they recognize that many domestic investors and small-medium enterprises experience supply-side constraints that are likely to limit their participation in the sector. The government is implementing a range of capacity building initiatives and setting up a national local content fund to improve the ability of locals to win and execute on contracts in the sector.
Okay, and away from that, let's talk financial institutions that have been urged to offer financial services to refugees to boost their financial livelihoods. In a report that rebuilding livelihoods in displacements, while refugees have a wide range of income sources, self-employment remains one of their main source of income. During the launching of the Endline report, March 2022, experts noted the reduction in offering financial hand to refugees. A look at the details.
Little has been known about the financial strategies employed by refugees over the time to build their livelihoods and manage their finances. Financial institutions have therefore been called upon to offer financial services to refugees to boost their financial livelihoods. During the launching of the Endline report March 2022 by BFA Global, a consulting firm that applies financial and digital innovations, experts noted a reduction of offering financial hand to refugees.
Can be a profitable market segment, but it also proves that there's still a lot that can be done, and I don't want to preempt the study findings. I'll leave Michelle to come and do that very well. But it's just to invite the people around the room to think a little bit harder, and for example, especially for the financial service providers, to think of what more can they do, and especially in this digital era.
Even the money that they received last month has decreased even further. So we are kind of seeing a reduction in the amount of money that is being disbursed to refugees over time. We've certainly seen it in the last 2 years, despite the needs kind of continuing to either remain the same or increase.
According to the report, there has been an increase in the number of refugees owning or having access to mobile phones compared to the baseline by 7%. Uniquely, the research was conducted directly before and after legislative changes in Uganda allowed them to own SIM cards registered in their own names for the first time. As a result, mobile money usage had a tremendous increase, from 29% to 61% between the baseline and endline period.
the policy regime has really helped, because the refugees now are owning the SIM cards in their own name, which has really helped. But I think the drawback, one of the biggest drawback that we saw is the cost of transacting, especially using mobile money. So if that was addressed, I'm sure they could there could be actually a better uptake of digital financial services, but also to add that thinking about this ecosystem so that people don't necessarily have to cash out the money, they can actually use the digital money digitally even when they go to merchants or to shops. I think that would really help a lot. But again, that is very much pegged on the cost of doing that. To the question, I really like that question about, we have highlighted a lot about the refugee, and the silent people here are actually the host communities. And like Michelle said, the focus of this project was not just to the refugees. It's only that we are reporting a lot on the refugee, but also the host communities, because they face almost the same challenges as the...
Definitely we've seen increment of mobile money, but also there comes in a challenge of digital literacy. And I think this is where we are talking a lot about, and you can see from the companies that are talking, the implementing partners saying we have to do sensitization, we have to do training, and that will help. So hopefully as access to smartphones and access to phones increases, more and more people and opportunities come up so that they're able to actually use digital products. So one day we are hoping that they're able to say, like, I can either touch my button, I can be able to do this. From the research itself, when we asked them what they've done with mobile money or their phone, a lot of it was just communications as of now and just sending money back home, not so much on the digital products. So I still think like that's a great opportunity for having other new institutions coming in and using it. And especially like financial institutions starting to tell...
The report further indicates that there has been a significant change in cash at home from 29% at the baseline to 59% during the end line. Refugees said that they keep money for emergencies, particularly for health emergencies. In terms of savings instruments, there was a significant increase in the Kampala refugees from 6% in the baseline to 38% during the end line. There was also an increase of about 20% in the Bidibidi settlement and 20% in Inaki Valley.
Refugees also live. We have some coverage of urban refugees, specifically those in Kampala. Some of their needs, their typical risk management, coping mechanisms, and the financial instruments that they use. Obviously, they have their palette of financial instruments is richer because they are in the cities. They are a bit more accessible by the financial institutions. So accessibility, like Michelle mentioned, in terms of branchless banking, may not be so big an issue. But then there are still other issues that apply, like policy, in terms of identification. Some of those barriers that existed for refugees in West Nile also applied to those in Kampala as well, simply because there wasn't...
In terms of lending or credit, the most commonly known used loan facility is a loan from informal group. According to the report, this is prevalent in the West Nile, Palarinya and Bidibidi, with an increase of about 17% in both settlements, and this was attributed to the program implementing partners.
So each of these members went through a rigorous program before loans were advanced, right? Similarly, Rufi also offered a digital lending product, right? They ensured that the members went through a digital literacy program. The ledger links that they used, they had to let their partner Grameen Foundation train all the saving group members on how to use a smartphone, how to use the technology, how to access information in offline mode, and how to sync in.
In a report, high cost of transaction has hindered use of mobile banking, sometimes costing a user up to 15,000 to access their money. There is limited comprehension by respondents in understanding the terms and conditions offered by formal financial service provider for financial products. Account opening fees and maintenance fees were also highlighted as a huge concern. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV.
Thank you very much, Pedson Mumbere. Now, the Deposit Protection Fund protects a large percentage of retail depositors, therefore making it quite an aspect, a crucial aspect for safety of funds that have been deposited. In Uganda, it is committed to upholding international best practice and setting highest standards of business integrity, ethical values, and governance. A look at the details.
That provides deposit insurance to customers of deposit-taking institutions licensed by the Bank of Uganda. It protects your savings if your financial institution fails and you don't have to apply or pay for the deposit insurance. The fund stood at 966 billion shillings as of 30th June 2021, up from 787 billion shillings a year before. It provides cover for up to 10 million shillings per deposit account, and figures show that about 98% of the accounts have 10 million or less and therefore fully protected. While speaking to Smart 24 TV, Balam Sempala, the head of IT department at Deposit Protection Fund, explains about the mandate of the agency and which people are entitled to the fund.
Now, for our people who need to understand what this deposit protection is, basically deposit protection is a government agency which exists by law. It was put in place by law, and we are to ensure one of our core mandate is to ensure that the deposit, the money that is kept in the banks for the depositors is well protected. Who deposit their money in the licensed institution is contributing institution is, if you put your money in a contributing institution, a bank, for example, that is supervised and licensed by Bank of Uganda, will cover you. The Deposit Protection Fund will cover you. However, if you put your money, we have other money lenders, for example, who are not licensed by Bank of Uganda, and you take your money there, or some of these other schemes which are not supervised, they are not licensed by Bank of Uganda, we don't cover you if that scheme or that club or that something gets problems.
Balam describes a joint account and how a customer or client knows whether it is guaranteed.
It is an account where 2 or 3 or more than 2 people come together and they open up an account in a bank or in a credit institution. An insurance on every account in a licensed institution. A licensed institution is the one which is licensed by Bank of Uganda and supervised by Bank of Uganda. And the institution is either a bank, a commercial bank, or a credit institution, or a deposit-taking institution. So we do ensure that money that is saved in this institution is actually well managed.
Furthermore, he explains about the taxation of money from the protection fund and compensation to a customer in case the bank account closed.
No, we don't tax. You will get all your money. Now, for example, if you put your money, you are a customer in Bank A, for example, and that Bank A is closed by Bank of Uganda. Now, as Deposit Protection Fund, we come in at that time of closure of your bank, and then we compute all the balances, the depositor balances, the money that depositors are supposed to get. So we compute and we make sure that we are able to pay every depositor up to 10 million. That is the amount that is insured for every depositor. So we pay up to 10 million. And then the rest, if you have more money, if we after deducting the loans, your what we call your liabilities, after deducting those liabilities, then the balance, and after we have removed the insured amount of 10 million, the balance is paid through the liquidation process. Yeah. However, for the money that we pay, that 10 million, we don't tax it. Even URI doesn't tax it. Even if we pay through a mobile money service provider, a mobile money service provider, that service provider will not deduct. If we are to pay you 10 million, you will receive your 10 million package. Now the transactional costs are borne by the DPF.
Vanessa Olupot, Smart 24 TV.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Now let's end tonight's bulletin in regards to business by taking a look at what is happening on the international scene, as this particular one takes us to the Russia-Ukraine issues. If you'll excuse me, the non-Ukraine refugees have recounted their long journey to Poland, with more than 450,000 fleeing to Poland after it opened its borders to anyone regardless of their nationality and the documents that had been held. A look at this particular story.
The non-Ukrainian refugees have recounted their long journey to Poland. More than 450,000 fled to Poland after it opened its borders to anyone, regardless of the nationality and documents held. The main train station in Prasmol city, close to the Poland-Ukraine border, is full of hundreds of passengers arriving from the western Ukrainian city of Lviv. While the distance between the two cities is less than 100 kilometers, the journey has taken hours for many since the beginning of the Russian war against Ukraine. Ever since the all-out war began on February 24th, Poland opened its borders to anyone fleeing war, regardless of the nationality. More than 450,000 people have so far crossed into the country. In total, the United Nations has estimated that more than 830,000 people had fled Ukraine.
Well, thank you very much for being part of tonight's broadcast, and till tomorrow we shall surely get back to you, telling you and driving your businesses in regards to a lot that is actually happening across the country, and the world. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. You can get me on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at Jerome Paul Sonko. For more of the information regarding business, please do follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram on at Smart24 TV with all that and everything to do with business. Well, thank you very much. It's a good night from us to you, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.